Big YouTubers have completely lost touch with reality and their audience. A huge number of people are using entry-level gear, something along the lines of an RTX 3050 6GB. Now, if you spoke to one of these tech YouTubers about this card, they would say it's absolutely trash and you shouldn't buy it. But it's probably the only card you can sensibly buy in this price range. So those tech YouTubers are telling you you shouldn't be gaming at all. And I hate that. As somebody that sells and builds computers, done it for many years, I know there's huge numbers of people on a limited budget that still want to get gaming. So the goal of today's video is to show you that yes, you can game well even on cheap hardware like this, if you set your expectations reasonably. So here is the basic system we'll be testing with. We're not going to put this GPU with loads of expensive stuff. This is about budget. We have a Ryzen 5 4500 with the standard stealth stock cooler, comes in at 50 quid. We've got an ASRock B450M motherboard with Wi-Fi built in, that's 60 quid. We've got 1TB SSD, we've got one for 55 quid. And then we have the RTX 3050, that was 155 quid. We've got the RAM here, I actually got this at 35 quid, but I'm gonna put in 70 quid to be a bit more accurate to the times. We've got it in the Gamdius Athena case, which I'll show you some B-roll of. And the power supply is a Gigabyte P550 silver, so silver 550 watt. So overall, actually a pretty little nifty little system. This cost £479 in total. So you can still, even in this market, get a system under £500. So you might be wondering, Computer Surgical Man, why are you using an RTX 3050 when you could use something like an Intel Arc B570, which is a lot faster with more VRAM for only a few quid more? I've actually got one right here. So why wouldn't I choose this over this? Simple reason, this won't work on older platforms. Trust me, I've tried it. If you want the boring technical reason, NVIDIA, they just seem to make these things work with older platforms. The way that the handshake works when it sets up the initialization just works better on this one. With the B570, you can get it to boot from a cold boot, but anytime you try to reboot the PC, like when it does an update or something, it doesn't initialize properly. So I can't really recommend that people use this B570 in an older platform. You need to be on at least a B550 or X570 motherboard, or of course on one of the more newer Intel or AMD platforms. And a lot of you will correctly say, why don't you just use the used market? You're going to get much better value for money. But everybody already knows that you can get better value on the used market because it's used stuff. And you'd be surprised, there's a lot of people out there that will never ever buy used computer parts simply because of the warranty aspect. It's one of the main reasons that pre-built PCs are a thing. It's because they come with tech support and warranty. Once you start buying used stuff, that tends to go out the window. So like it or not, people are going to buy new stuff even at the low end. So let's test what we've got here today, and you can sit there safe in the knowledge, like me, that we know that used would be better in this situation. Okay, playing some Apex Legos, and we're playing on 1080p medium settings. And this feels pretty nice and smooth, you know. 114 FPS, and then we've got the 82 1% lows. Feeling pretty good. It does feel like there's a little bit of input lag compared to a higher end system, but it's still perfectly usable. Oh, nearly. Well, we didn't do too bad there. 119 and 82. There was a smidge of input lag, but it generally felt pretty good. So I can't really complain about that. So we're on to a winning start, I think, here, with some pretty nice performance. Okay, we are in the Fortnite. It feels pretty good. Not really any input lag in this game by what I can feel. I mean, it's not going to be as snappy as a high-end PC, but that's just because of the frame rate. But looking pretty sweet here. We've got 120 average FPS, 51% lows, and honestly guys, this is being held back mainly by the CPU, I'm pretty sure. If you went for a 5500 or even better a 5600 Ryzen, you'd probably be in a better spot. Because the 4500 is kind of like really the base of what you need. Like anything less than this, you're not going to be having a good time in most games. But it is holding its own. It's just those 1% lows could be improved quite significantly with a better CPU, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so I thought as a little test, I'd also put Fortnite into the performance mode, which kind of reduces the rendering of the game a bit, makes it a bit easier to run. I mean, it looks like absolute ass, but it is running a bit better. So we've got the 180 FPS average or thereabouts, and sort of between 75 and 80 on the 1% lows. So not so bad. It does show to me though that our main problem here was CPU bottleneck, because really we should be getting a bit better than this. But I will say it feels really smooth and responsive, so you could definitely get a playable experience with this, no problem. Alright, so we've got some Battlefield 6. We've got it on 1080p low settings. The game does not look fantastic, not gonna lie. I mean, it doesn't look like really gross, but it doesn't look fantastic, let's put it that way. I'm really feeling the difference in the FPS compared to other PCs that I've played this game on. There's a tank up there. So the problem is here is that this is not really even a 60 FPS experience at this point. So it's going to be really difficult for you to compete at this performance level. I thought it'd be interesting to see what we could achieve with DLSS on this game. I don't usually like DLSS on shooter games because it makes it feel all like input laggy and kind of gross. But you know what? This doesn't feel so bad. It's definitely better than it was before without the DLSS on, so this is okay. I did try it on the ultra performance mode. That looked really smeary and bad, and I couldn't even see the enemy. I couldn't see anything that's going on. So let's say you're a bit of a casual player, you want to play some Battlefield. Yeah, put your DLSS on to performance and then put your settings down to low, and you can just about pull it off. Okay, we are in the woo diddly doo diddly Kong Black Myth style. So we've set this to 1080p, we set it to medium preset, and we have enabled DLSS, but no frame generation. No frame generation. And this has got a 67 FPS. So even in the latest kind of AAA titles, you can still get good performance out of budget gear. You just have to put your settings down to medium, and occasionally you need to use a bit of DLSS. I ran this test without the DLSS and it was around sort of 52, 55, so it's just shy of that 60 FPS target. But still, pretty good, right? So just run the Cyberpunk benchmark. We've put this onto DLSS performance mode, 1080p medium settings, and we have achieved a good result here. The picture didn't look fantastic when we were doing the benchmark, not gonna lie, but it's a playable result. So if you are on a budget, you can achieve some good performance in Cyberpunk. So just as another little quick test, we've got the Red Dead Redemption 2 benchmark from a few years ago, and we are hitting 67 FPS. This is at 1080p on the medium preset, so you can definitely still get good performance out of some older AAA titles, and this game in particular is really fun, by the way. So to wrap this video up, we can see that even if you do get sort of bottom of the barrel new hardware, you can still get a playable experience at 1080p. But it is worth noting that there are better value things that you can do. For example, getting the 8GB version of the 3050 would be slightly better. Getting a Ryzen 5 5500 or 5600 would be a little bit more money, but probably give you superior performance. The reason I chose these parts today were, one, because I got them very cheap from my suppliers, but also because I wanted this to be a real worst case scenario. Like, if you've really not paid that much attention or not picked the right parts, can we still get something good for a cheap price? And the answer is clearly yes. This isn't going to light the world on fire for 1440p gaming, but a large number of people don't play those really big AAA games. They actually just play things like Stardew Valley and Sims and other things like that. You'd be surprised how many people out there do just that. And for those kind of people, this is going to do a fantastic job.